Ladies and gentlemen, friends, and members of the Conservancy of Southwest Florida, welcome to our 58th annual members meeting. Thank you for taking the time to be here virtually again this evening and for your continued commitment to our essential mission to protect Southwest Florida's water, land, wildlife, and future. Let me first thank our presenting sponsor for tonight, LFE Capital. Board member Leslie Freecon has been generous enough to underwrite us, and I thank you very much, Leslie. It does make a big difference. Again, welcome to all of you. Here is our agenda for the evening, which we hope we will be able to complete in just an hour. There's lots to report and actions to be taken. Your Conservancy has made tremendous progress this year as we keep moving the mission forward. Just to highlight a few of our accomplishments, last March, under the great leadership of Chair Katrina Lundmark-Cash and Co-Chair Carol Walter, we celebrated the 17th annual Magic Under the Mangroves Gala. Unfortunately, virtually, but it was truly a magical hour. Streaming live from Keewaydin Lodge, we were successful in raising over $1.4 million. And while it was a year like no other, our supporters came through for us in an especially meaningful and significant way. This year, we plan to be back at the Nature Center in person in a large tent on March 3rd. Thank you to Terry and Bob Edwards, our 2022 event chairs. With your inspired leadership, it is sure to be an exciting and special event. And to all of you out there, join us if you can. This past fall, we hosted our second virtual red snook catch and release fishing tournament. Remarkably, it too did very well and exceeded revenue goals, netting us over $140,000 to support our efforts to protect our water resources. Thank you to our tournament chair and past board member Wayne Meeland of Meeland Call Wealth Management, Benjamin Bedwards, for leading the charge and, not surprisingly, winning first place in the guided artificial bait division with our fellow board member John Cook. After being closed for over 18 months, we finally reopened our Nature Center with the newly expanded Susan Walton Discovery Center and the John and Carol Walter Discovery Wing. We did this on Saturday, December 8th, and thanks to the Daltons and John and Carol Walter and many other generous benefactors, it was a very successful opening. Visitors and members have been extremely enthusiastic about the new exhibits, and I hope you will make a point of getting there soon yourself. To further our commitment to regional water quality and Everglades restoration, the Conservancy and Sanibel Captiva Conservation Foundation, that's SCCF if you're into acronyms, partnered to hire a professional hydrologist. This will be integral to our region's future sustainability and quality of life. Of course, none of this could have happened without the incredible investment that you, our generous supporters and members, continue to provide. Your help enables the Conservancy to continue as a region-wide leader in protecting our quality of life now and for future generations. Your Conservancy is strong, but meeting future challenges depends on you. On behalf of the Conservancy's board and our staff, we thank you again for your sustained support, and we look forward to another successful year together. Let me now recognize and thank Board Treasurer John Walter and Victoria Pollock, our CFO, and our Finance Committee for their commitment dealing with a very challenging last fiscal year, as well as planning for this fiscal year. We have a few slides prepared that quickly show our total year operating performance in both income and expenses. These slides are available on our website if you'd like to study them further. The first is income by source. Please notice the philanthropic categories: individual contributions, grants, memberships, and special events. These four categories together represent almost 96% of our total income, and it's given in direct support from our more than 6,000 supporters. Total revenue last year was over $9 million. Next, expense by function shows that 81% of every dollar raised goes towards our programs, which execute our mission to protect Southwest Florida's water, land, wildlife, and future. This slide, expense by program services, details how programmatic dollars are spent throughout our four core areas of environmental education, science, policy, and wildlife rehabilitation. I'm also happy to say that we have sustained our platinum rating from GuideStar and our 4-star Charity Navigator rating, which recognizes our strong financial health, accountability and transparency, and adherence to industry best management practices. You know, it's not enough to have just good finances and a great staff, but frankly, we would be lost without our volunteers. We always say that the Conservancy could not operate without its volunteers, but even more so than usual. During the pandemic, this was evident, especially in the Wildlife Hospital, which of course had to stay open, pandemic or otherwise. Our volunteers are a wonderful example of what people can do when they believe in a common cause. So we could not do it without them, and for those of you volunteers who are at this meeting, we've missed you, but it's great to have you back at the Nature Center. For the finance mavens in the audience, our audited statements are currently being prepared and should be ready in the next few weeks. They will also be on our website, www.conservancy.org, or you may simply request them directly from our finance office. As always, at our annual meeting, we celebrate and thank our members retiring from our board. We have 4 members retiring, and we first recognize Edie Andrew. Edie has been a visitor and a resident of Naples since 1993. She's been involved with the Conservancy for more than 22 years and served on the board previously from 2006 to 2012 on the Development Committee, the Education Committee, and she was also part of the campaign cabinet for 7 years, which helped to raise the money for renovating the original campus. I'm returning to the board in 2017. Her efforts to stop fracking, to keep land in sensitive areas free of development, and to improve water quality are legendary. Her commitment to education is known throughout the county, but maybe the country. But here in Naples, her support of the Conservancy's education program has been really significant. Edie and her late husband, Edward, endowed a joint environmental education position with the Florida Gulf Coast University and the Conservancy. Edie has also endowed an internship at the Conservancy, and the family's philanthropy has also funded both laboratories in the Environmental Science Department and in the education wing at the Conservancy, as well as supporting Magic Under the Mangroves and the Red Snook Catch and Release Tournament, and much more. Next, we recognize and thank Ed Eaton. Ed retired from Procter & Gamble as Vice President and Controller after 36 years of service. His expertise in finance and economics provided great insight to our Finance Committee, on which Ed served as a member and later as chair. Under his leadership as chair, we saw a very significant increase in the endowment fund at the Conservancy, and Ed also served as treasurer of the Conservancy and a member of the Executive Committee. He's been a very strong supporter of the Conservancy for more than 22 years, and he and his wife have endowed an internship, attended and supported Magic Under the Mangroves, given through Give Where You Live, and most recently were one of the earliest funders for the new dormitory, which is currently under construction. Next, I'd like to acknowledge Jerry Mole. A Florida native, Jerry graduated from the University of Florida and McMaster University in Hamilton, Ontario. She also completed graduate banking school at Louisiana State University, and she spent her entire years with the Bank of America in Florida, serving 6 different markets during that time. She's held numerous community leadership positions, including 2 with significant statewide impact. She's also served on our board as a member of the Wildlife Committee, the Executive Committee, and most recently as Secretary of the Corporation. And finally, we thank Dave Rissmiller. Dave was a banker for his entire career and retired as a CEO of a multi-billion-dollar publicly traded bank holding company. He's been a resident of Florida for 15 years and was a frequent visitor prior to that. He has witnessed the rapid, unchecked growth that is threatening the environment, and he joined the Conservancy to make a difference. Dave has served on several committees at the Conservancy, including board governance, finance, and development. He and his wife have supported the Conservancy through Magic Under the Mangroves, his membership contributions, and through gifts directed to special needs. We also turn now to the re-election of our board members who have agreed to a second 4-year term. They have all 3 submitted considerable wisdom and resources to our cause, include Phil Douglas, Barry Frank, and Nick Penniman. We are very happy that they have been a part of our time here, and we're very happy that they will serve for another 4 years. And I'm also happy to say that our Governance Committee has produced a slate of 5 new candidates to be elected to the board for a 4-year term. It's my pleasure to introduce you to each of them. First is Christian Campbell. Chris previously served as Senior Vice President, General Counsel, and Secretary of Yum Brands from its formation in 1997 until his retirement in February 2016. Chris oversaw all legal matters at Yum and was responsible for the oversight of Yum purchasing as a director of Yum's purchasing cooperative with its franchisees. Prior to joining Yum, Chris was a Senior Vice President and General Counsel at Owens Corning, a leading global producer of fiberglass insulation and composite business materials, in addition to serving many other prestigious firms. He's no stranger to the Conservancy. His kids have attended our summer camp, and his wife is a former volunteer at the Arx Wildlife Hospital. For the past 2 years, he's been an active volunteer as a member of our Environmental Affairs Committee, in addition to serving on our legal advisory group, and he and his wife remain strong financial supporters. Next, Sheila Demkovich. Sheila is just downright passionate about wildlife. She's volunteered in the Wildlife Hospital since 2007. She's helped develop routine lab tests for animal parasites, and with the help of the Conservancy's veterinarian, she trains interns to perform this testing. Sheila has been an avid bird watcher for 50-plus years, including international travel. Her North American life list is near 500 species, and her world life list is 1,000 species. Sheila and her husband Paul have 4 daughters, all of whom have attended the Conservancy's summer camp program, and one has actually served later as an intern in the Wildlife Hospital. Sheila and Paul have been exceptional supporters, investing in numerous key projects and programs over the years. Sheila is actually already serving as vice chair of our Wildlife Committee. Next, Linda Grijalva. Linda and her husband Victor have been Florida residents since 2013 and spend their summers at homes in Manhattan and Connecticut. She enjoys tennis, genealogy, and reading, and she and Victor enjoy traveling and visiting their 4 children and 5 grandchildren. She has a black belt in Shotokan Karate, and she was the USA Karate Federation Senior Women's National Champion. She's delighted to support the Conservancy's mission to protect Southwest Florida's waterland and wildlife, but has a special interest in Everglades restoration and environmental policy. She is on the Conservancy's Magic Under the Mangroves Committee and serves on the Environmental Affairs Committee, but she was also a former member of the Naples Children and Education Foundation as a trustee and also as a grant committee member. She is also a member of the New York State Bar Association and the Bar of the U.S. Supreme Court, as well as part of the Daughters of the American Revolution and the Big Cypress chapter. She is a patron at the Central Park Conservancy and a New York Historical Society. She and Victor are also generous supporters of the Conservancy through events and special initiatives. And given her athletic skills, we will treat her with unusual respect. And next, Cedric Shaw. Cedric retired as group president from Illinois Tool Works in Glenview, Illinois in 2015. He was responsible for the Signode, America's industrial packaging businesses, including software technologies and worldwide innovation leadership. Prior to that, Cedric served in multiple high-level corporate positions. He was also a 4-year letterman and team captain for the University of Iowa Hawkeyes. Cedric has been married to his wife Pepper for 34 years. They reside in Naples, and they have 2 children and 2 grandchildren. Cedric has already been active in the Environmental Affairs Committee of the Conservancy and believes strongly in its environmental education endeavors. And last, Roger Weston. Roger serves as the chairman, president, and chief executive officer of Great Bank. He currently serves as a director of numerous public and private companies. He's an avid fisherman, and when in Naples, he fishes nearly every day. Roger and his wife Pam have supported the Conservancy through Magic Under the Mangroves and has participated in python necropsies since being introduced to the work of the python team just last year. As an avid fisherman, he's quite passionate about our waterways, but he also serves as a life trustee of the Art Institute of Chicago, collects Asian art and has donated many pieces to the museum. The Roger L. and Pamela Weston Wing and Japanese art galleries, which opened at that museum in 2010, display many of those pieces. So now, a little bit of work. I have to ask you, the members here, to approve our slate of directors as presented. You will find on the right-hand side of your screen a button to indicate yes or no, and I hope that all of you will press the yes button so we'll know that we have a new complete board. Fire away, please. I think the signals are looking very positive. In fact, I think we can say we have been successful, and so I extend congratulations and thanks to our new board members, and our board is now at full strength for the coming year. Thank you all for your attention. Now I would like to turn the electronic podium over to our President and CEO, Rob Moher, but before turning him loose, I have a few personal comments. With this meeting, I wrap up 4 years as your board chair. Assuming there is no palace revolt at the board meeting we hold after this meeting is complete, our treasurer and my vice chair, John Walter, will be elected as your new board chair. It's been a wonderful experience for me, and I'm especially grateful for the steady support of the board and the Conservancy staff. These past 4 years have brought about challenges and changes for us, and the same can be said for Collier County and our region. But our mission to preserve our land, water, wildlife, and our future remains squarely in front of us, and I'm confident that John will provide strong leadership as we move forward. The preeminent biochemist Lewis Thomas once said that his favorite word in any talk was the word finally. Well, finally, I must give special thanks to Rob. His steady leadership, forward thinking, and marvelous ability to turn plans into action made my job much easier and that of the board as well. So thank you so much, Rob. It's been a special privilege to work with you.
Thank you.
And now the podium is yours.
Thank you very much. That's very generous, Van, and we really appreciate your leadership. So I get to say a few words about your service to this fine organization. Good evening, everyone. Well, it's a bittersweet moment for me and for all of us. We do want to acknowledge the vision and commitment of our chairman, Van Williams, for doubling his term as board chair. For 4 years, Van, you have led the board and its oversight and outreach efforts. We're very grateful for your many valuable contributions. And so, on behalf of all of us here, we hope you will find, we're going to retire your well-used gavel and hope you find a place in your office for a very small token of our appreciation. So this gavel will hopefully be handed off and find a special place in your office.
Thank you, sir. That's neat.
So before I begin my mission-focused presentation, I'd like to take a moment to recognize 3 very important Conservancy friends that we lost in the past year. In our lives, there are a few very special people we have the privilege of spending time with, of learning from, and of enjoying their wisdom, passion, and generosity. John Hall was that man for many of us. His commitment to and his love for our waterways, his big-hearted ways in which he supported the staff, and his relentless desire to provide wisdom and counsel to me and others were just a few of the reasons he will never be forgotten. John Hall will be deeply missed. And so we dedicate our efforts to protect the Big Cypress Preserve, a place that John loved and appreciated, in John's memory. We also share our sympathies to the other members of the Conservancy family that we lost in 2021. Of particular note, I wish to acknowledge the contributions of Joe Dingler, one of our most enthusiastic, passionate, and capable volunteers, who was a force for good on our campus, and notably with our electric boat program, but even well beyond. In addition, one of our beloved former co-workers passed away, Christine Crewman, who was our Director of Major and Planned Gifts for many years, notably during the Saving Southwest Florida campaign. We'll miss Christine, and we remember her many contributions. Now, John, Joe, and Christine would of course want us to do one thing, and that is to move forward with the mission. So that is exactly what we are going to do. Tonight, I am going to provide you more of a forward look into some of the conservation challenges and opportunities that are before us. I hope this will motivate, inspire, and move you to action to help us meet these needs head on. As you may recall, I am a former school teacher. So just as fair warning, there will be a detailed multiple choice quiz at the end of this presentation. So take lots of notes and good luck. In our mission work, water is the foundational element. It's why it comes first in our tagline. We talk about protecting water, land, wildlife, and our future, but we all understand that they are all deeply interconnected. A major focus of our efforts this year will continue to be providing science-based policy focus on the newly proposed Lake Okeechobee System Operating Manual. Yes, there's an acronym for this too, LOSM, as it is affectionately known. LOSM dictates how much and when water is released from Lake Okeechobee to the estuaries, including the Caloosahatchee on the west coast. All those awful discharges in the past years that resulted in massive algae outbreaks that fed the red tide in the Gulf of Mexico, well, they were fed in significant part by the massive and poorly timed discharges from Lake Okeechobee. Just think back to the horrible outbreak in 2018, and you'll agree this is indeed worth spending a moment on. In the past year, the Conservancy, through its partnership with the Sanibel Captiva Conservation Foundation, played a major leadership role. Our jointly funded and managed hydrologic modeler, Dr. Paul Julian, helped shape solutions for the Army Corps of Engineers, and our teams jointly lobbied for a LOSM model that would be far more protective of the west coastal interest while advancing the health of the overall Everglades system. And just to be clear, the Conservancy and SCCF were the only two conservation groups on this coast providing this level of technical modeling input into the LOSM process. In the next year, the Army Corps will make a final record of decision, and be assured your Conservancy and our partners at SCCF will be at the table for that next year until a final decision made to ensure our west coast interests are protected. As I've said many times, solving our water quality woes is sort of like solving a Rubik's Cube puzzle. All the sides have to be lined up just right to solve the puzzle. One piece the Conservancy has been advocating for over a decade is for a new statewide stormwater rule. Now, why is stormwater important? Stormwater is a major source of water pollution in our region. If we can ensure that all new developments treat water on site and more effectively using them, the updated proven designs, that means polluted water is not being shunted downstream to the coasts, into our tributaries and our estuaries. The Conservancy is pleased to report that new standards are finally being developed by the state of Florida, and we will continue to participate as the new rule goes through the approval process. So another side of the Rubik's Cube is habitat conservation, such as wetlands. And simply put, the 404 program is a permitting process for the destruction of wetlands. So if you care about water quality and wildlife, one has to care about our wetlands. In fact, the Conservancy of Southwest Florida was founded fighting the unnecessary destruction of wetlands in what is today Rookery Bay. This issue goes right to our roots. Southwest Florida has unfortunately seen a tidal wave of wetland loss in the past 3 decades. Each acre of wetland can store between 1 to 1.5 million gallons of water and purify that water. Wetlands are nature's kidneys. Wetlands also provide essential habitat for some of our most iconic wildlife. So the transfer of 404 permitting from the Army Corps of Engineers to the state of Florida DEP, simply put, is a terrible idea that benefits no one except development interests who wish to impact or destroy wetlands. Development can proceed in the state of Florida, but without building on the most economically and ecologically valuable assets. We should preserve those. The state is simply not equipped to handle the volume and complexity of this program on its own. Without federal oversight and the foundational federal protections in place, the State Department of Environmental Protection will likely expedite hundreds of 404 permits in our region alone, resulting in greater wetlands loss. The Conservancy with its partners are going to continue the legal challenge to overturn this decision and ensure that the federal oversight of wetland permitting in Florida returns as the law of the land. Picayune Strand State Forest is a very special part of Southwest Florida, and it is an integral part of the Western Everglades. Once slated as one of the largest subdivisions in the world, it is now the home of one of the most successful Everglades restoration projects ever built, thanks in part to decades of work by your Conservancy. Water is now flowing again in sheet flow across the land, strengthening the health of forests and the marine environment in the 10,000 islands. However, this project has a final hurdle to overcome. The Southwest Florida Protection Feature is a key part of the project, designed to direct water flow away from adjacent properties, rerouting it south under US 41. Concerns about this conveyance feature include water quality and the location where the water will be discharged. With your support, our combined work of our science and policy teams are going to ensure that this Keystone Everglades restoration project does not inadvertently create damage to our water assets, protected areas, or listed species. As you know, when we talk about land, the eastern lands of Collier County are massive in size and of critical importance for endangered and threatened species, for preserving agriculture and rural lands, and of course, for protecting water and Everglades health. The debate regarding the future of these lands has been one the Conservancy has proactively been engaged in for over 2 decades. We continue to be very concerned with the plans to build dozens of taxpayer-subsidized new villages, cities in sprawl, in what is effectively the doorstep of the Western Everglades. The case against Rivergrass Village, the first of these many proposed villages, warrants the strongest attention and focus because of the precedent it will set. This is why the Conservancy is appealing the Rivergrass decision that was made at the local level to the 2nd District Court of Appeals. As we have said many times, the Conservancy never actually had its day in court, as the Collier County Circuit Court judge dramatically limited what could actually even be tried. Recent Florida case law, however, proves this interpretation was fundamentally flawed. So with amicus briefs from 13 national, state, and local organizations in support of the Conservancy, we will be taking Rivergrass to the appellate level. We also plan to challenge the new statewide fee-shifting provision passed conveniently in the last days of the legislative session in 2019. This provision is clearly unconstitutional. It is designed to stymie any challenge, such as our challenge to Rivergrass, to any development order anywhere in Florida by forcing the losing party to pay all of the opposing side's legal fees. We will not be deterred. Floridians deserve to be able to control the fate of their own communities. There will be some big questions and possibly bigger changes coming up this year regarding our beloved Florida panther. The panther is a keystone umbrella species, so protection of the panther and the habitat it needs to survive also provides protection for many other species. This goes to the heart of what we work on at the Conservancy, and it aligns with our smart growth and wetland protection advocacy. The Florida panther is currently listed as an endangered subspecies under the Endangered Species Act. Will the panther stay protected? The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service is currently evaluating the panther's status. Even as extreme development pressure threatens the Florida panther's habitat base, we are concerned the agency may be considering downlisting or even delisting the Florida panther. The Conservancy's position is to support the best available science and retain the Florida panther status as endangered. Have you ever visited the Big Cypress? It is an absolutely amazing wilderness, and it's all within Collier County. Did you know the Big Cypress Natural Preserve is one of the largest single conservation areas in the state of Florida? It comprises of over 725,000 acres of sensitive wetlands and provides habitat for a wide range of species. The Big Cypress is at the heart of the Western Everglades, and it remains a critically important asset for water storage, treatment, and the availability of water for all of South Florida's residents. The Burnett Oil Company, however, which leases the right to explore and extract oil from the Collier Resources Company, is planning further harmful oil and gas activities inside the Big Cypress. The company's last seismic testing operations in 2017 and 2018 severely damaged wetlands and cypress trees in this delicate ecosystem, with much of that damage still not being restored. We must fight any effort to search for and extract the poor quality crude oil from the Big Cypress. As our former board member and retired oil executive John Hall eloquently stated, the juice in the Big Cypress is simply not worth the squeeze. The Conservancy has had a lot of success on these issues and elevating these issues to senior agency officials in the state and federal governments to provide solutions and advocate for our region's interests, to fight to save the Big Cypress. It is the reputation of the Conservancy and your support that makes that level of engagement in public policy possible. So, the next part of our tagline, wildlife. The Arx Wildlife Hospital admitted almost 4,500 native animals last year. That's an astounding number. Each animal admitted is given the best possible chance at recovery and release through the incredible care from our team. Though the hospital often acts as the end of the line for injured wildlife, we have been working diligently through education and public partnership to prevent injuries from happening rather than just focusing on the downstream treatment, which is expensive, challenging for our team, and not to mention the injured animal. Thanks to a concerted multi-year effort, the Conservancy, with your support, was able to convince the Naples City Council to pass a number of restrictions to control irresponsible fishing practices at the pier, include passing a pilot project to provide 1 day a week where wildlife at the pier are given a break from the pressures of angling. The Conservancy wishes to thank all those responsible anglers who supported this action, the Naples City Council, and our supporters who want to make sure fishing can be enjoyed, but also while protecting the wildlife that are attracted there. The science team has also been hard at work in many key facets of our mission. In addition, for a major push to having past research efforts prepared for journals and publications, which is so important in the realm of science, we also had a lot of new programs launched. For example, a 3-year donor-funded study on cane toads in our region was launched, resulting in collaboration with researchers as far away as Australia and locally with the University of Florida. Research led to the testing and trapping of trapping devices and the publication so far of over 5 science journal articles. Research on the impact of invasive fish in our waters has also been published and featured in local and broader news outlets. Of course, one of the greatest threats to our native wildlife remains the Burmese python. And thanks again to the support of our donors, the Conservancy has established itself as one of the leading authorities on the matter of invasive species in our region, in the case of the python, the world. Continued collaborative efforts are underway in concert with a host of wonderful partners, ranging from the Naples Zoo to the Department of the Interior and the state of Florida. Our goal remains to develop new knowledge through research that can be used against these invasive species, while also disrupting the breeding potential of the species through removal efforts. Today now, of course, you can learn a great deal more about this research by visiting the John and Carol Discovery Wing at the Susan and William Dalton Discovery Center. This is also a milestone year for our sea turtle conservation program. From very humble beginnings, the Conservancy has now sustained one of the longest continuous running sea turtle monitoring and protection programs in the entire United States. Impressive to say the least. And this year we get to celebrate as we mark the 40th anniversary for this amazing conservation program. A program protecting one of the most iconic marine mammals that also calls our coast home. Wouldn't it be great to endow this program for another 40 years of groundbreaking conservation work? Just please give me a call if you'd like to see that happen. All of our collective efforts protecting land, water, and wildlife result in securing a better future for us and for generations to follow. And that's the future part of our tag. And I would be remiss if I did not say something about our incredible team, our staff, interns, and volunteers who really make this place tick. In the face of all forms of adversity, from the pandemic, the team showed up every day. Following hurricanes, following sickness, in the face of uncertainty, they showed up. They showed up because they believe, like you, in the mission of the Conservancy. They are a remarkable team, a world-class team, and one that I know you share my appreciation for, their commitment. So I would like to say, well done, Team Conservancy. It also goes without saying that securing our future relies in great part on remaining as a financially strong and independent conservation organization. This independence comes from your financial support, which directly powers what we do. As we face inflationary pressures across the board, the Conservancy will continue to steward every dollar for maximum impact, but will also seek to meet the challenge through further building our endowments and seeking targeted programmatic gifts to sustain those core programs. Our people depend on you. You depend on our people to protect our home. Help us stay strong with your enhanced support. The climate change is also accelerating and creating real issues on the ground here in Southwest Florida. It will continue to do so. Changing rainfall patterns leading to excessive flooding, the increased intensity and frequency of hurricanes, increased heat impacting human health and infrastructure, and of course sea level rise impacting all facets of our coastal community. Despite these challenges, there is one thing that is certain. We must prepare for climate change now if we wish to protect our communities, to build resilience to the impacts, and of course take action to mitigate the causal effects of greenhouse gas emissions, which drive a rapidly changing global climate. So that is why the Conservancy conceived of and helped launch an initiative 3 years ago called Growing Climate Solutions, Path to Positive Southwest Florida. With the support of some fantastic partners, including the Community Foundation of Collier County, the Collaboratory in Fort Myers, FGCU, and the Kapnick Family Foundation, we have created a grassroots education effort designed to press forward with a positive message of the need for action to protect our communities in the face of rapidly changing climate. You can learn more about that and take action by visiting the website growingclimatesolutions.org. Finally, we are thrilled that as part of the Nature Center improvements, the Conservancy has created a state-of-the-art climate change immersive theater in the new John and Carol Walter Discovery Wing that visualizes the challenge and the solutions for our region and our planet. On top of that new expansion and across all of our buildings are 500 new solar panels, furthering our efforts to generate sustainable power for our needs. In 2022, we look forward to leveraging the $5 million investment we just made thanks to the support of our donors into the Nature Center. The newly expanded Dalton Discovery Center and the John and Carol Walter Discovery Wing are chock full of innovative, fun, and informative experiences to learn about this incredible environment, and most importantly, what we must do to protect it. So bring a friend, bring a group, come experience what we have created for you. Also in 2022, we are beyond thrilled to see the new Environmental Studies Dormitory rising up in our backfield. It is the largest building project in our history. This facility will house up to 36 interns as well as visiting researchers. It will also provide a state-of-the-art multimedia development studio and related support spaces. We are very grateful to Jeannie and Christopher Smith, who have gifted the building, along with almost a dozen other foundations and donors who are making this long-awaited dream become a reality. And when it comes to innovation, hands-on and outright just cool projects, you have no further to look than our brand new Learning Adventures bus. Designed to help us reach underserved communities, this mobile classroom, decked out with amazing technology and talented staff, will engage and motivate learners all across the region to understand and take action to protect our environment. The current focus for programs on the lab, as we call it, include water quality and climate change issues. So we are indeed on the move, literally and figuratively. So I hope the strategic look forward provides a clear and compelling case for our focus, our mission, and the impact of your continued support will have. Now, let's turn to an inspiring part of our program. This is really one of the highlights of the year, presenting the Eagle Award, the Conservancy's highest honor. It is given every year to a person, a couple, or a group who have worked to advance the Conservancy's mission in the most significant ways for a sustained period of time. This year, we have selected a couple who have been absolutely instrumental to our work and success. Let's take a look. The Eagle Award is the most prestigious award the Conservancy of Southwest Florida presents to an individual, a family, or a group of individuals who have advanced the mission of the Conservancy over time in a significant and highly impactful way. For Lynn and Chip Shotwell, being involved in conservation is not a new idea. In fact, it's a family affair. Lynn's father, Elmer Wavering, was a very early supporter, boat captain, and participant in the Conservancy's mission. From those early days of the 1960s, the family became more and more involved locally here in Southwest Florida in the mission of the Conservancy of Southwest Florida. Lynn joined the board early on and followed in her father's footsteps of advancing the conservation principles for which this organization has stood for since 1964. Not only did she participate as a board member, but Lynn, along with her husband Chip, were constant and invaluable advisors, providing strategic investments, wisdom, encouragement, networking, and support to really make sure that everyone in our community knew the invaluable role of what the Conservancy was providing to protect this community. Through the Saving Southwest Florida Capital campaign, of which Lynn was a cabinet member, to strategic investments into things including our new filter marsh, to our advocacy fund, and across many other platforms, Lynn and Chip have always been at the center of what the Conservancy's major decisions have been and helped advance our strategy. Not only have they been so involved, but their son Henley has also continued this mandate of the family affair. In fact, he co-chaired the Red Snook tournament for us for 3 years, and for that we are also very grateful. Lynn and Chip understand the importance of long-term investments, and they have done so through the establishment of one of the first ever endowments that supports our policy work at the Conservancy.
One of the things that the policy department so appreciates about Lynn and Chip is the fact that they're not scared away by a fight, and they understand that some of the most important issues that the Conservancy engages on might not be easy, and there are going to be battles, but they are behind us and committed to us 100%. Their endowment for the policy department ensures that we have the tools and resources that we need when we are engaging in some of these difficult battles on the policy front. We very much appreciate all of their support and commitment. It helps us to best fulfill the Conservancy's mission in protecting our water, land, wildlife, and future.
One of the Shotwell's favorite areas of the Conservancy, undoubtedly, is our science work. When we were designing the new campus for the Conservancy, when we shared the vision for expanded filter marshes here at the Conservancy, Chip and Lynn were among the first to put their hands up. They love the idea of demonstrating the impact that we could help clean water up on the campus before it was released into the Gordon River by using a series of best management practices.
This filter marsh supports education in a big way. It helps us to teach school children about water quality and how we can help clean up our water before it goes into our rivers and streams.
Also, they became very intrigued with the Conservancy's python research and removal efforts. When a need came up in the science department for a new vehicle, in typical Shotwell fashion, a phone call from myself to Chip explaining that we need a new vehicle resulted in Chip coming over and deciding that he himself was going to lead the outfitting and selection and all facets of how we were going to deck this truck out to meet the needs of the science department. From titanium wheels to comfortable chairs for the biologists, this was going to be a durable, effective vehicle to help carry out the python work of the Conservancy.
It has Kevlar tires. It has a lift package. It has a winch package. It has a armored underside, a brush guard, and so many accessories, I'm not going to go into them. But they all help us go deep into the swamp and track pythons. And without this vehicle, our python team could not have achieved the success that we have today. We couldn't have even gotten out of the block because we would be stuck somewhere out in the field. So thank you, Lynn and Chip.
As the CEO of a large and complex conservation organization, we often rely on the wisdom and the thoughtfulness and the engagement of those around us that are on the board or our advisors. In my role at the Conservancy, Lynn and Chip have always been there when I have been mulling very difficult decisions about strategy, about investments, about the future of the Conservancy, whether it's in their living room, in my office, or on the phone, or with text and email exchanges. Lynn and Chip were always more than willing to provide counsel, perspective, and to help broaden the lens so that the best decision could be made for the Conservancy. For all these reasons, as you can tell, Lynn and Chip Shotwell are passionate about the Conservancy of Southwest Florida. Because of their passion, because of their willingness to invest, to advise, to counsel, and to help move the mission forward, they are this year's Eagle Award winners. I hope you found that as truly inspiring as I did. And I know Lynn and Chip are watching tonight, so if I had a glass, I would raise it up to you right now. Congratulations to both of you. Thank you for being champions for our mission. And don't forget, the most exciting event of the year is returning to the Conservancy Nature Center in 2022, as Van mentioned. Yes, that's right. Magic Under the Mangroves will take place on March 3rd. And so we hope you're going to join us. And we're very grateful to our event chairs, Terry and Bob Edwards, to the committee, and to our returning presenting sponsor, Northern Trust, our supporting sponsor, William Ravis, and all the other sponsors. For tonight, thank you again to our presenting sponsor for this evening, LFE Capital. I hope you feel inspired by what you heard tonight. I really mean it, we all mean it when we say you are part of the team. And with your support, we can build a better future together. Now, as a reminder, board members, please access your Zoom link in 5 minutes for a brief but important meeting. For all of our other attendees, we wish to thank you for coming out to take time to listen to the comments at the annual meeting, to hear the difference your support is making, and for your support of the Conservancy of Southwest Florida, we are grateful. Enjoy your evening. Good night.